Yes. Yep.
they want to speak to a human. So they said that they were willing to go all the way through a completely automated journey as long as they got to talk to a human when it comes time to negotiate the offer. They want the opportunity to ask questions, understand, and potentially negotiate for a better compensation package. Our recruiters are incredibly inefficient and incredibly unhappy in this space. Like, that's the bottom line of this entire slide. So what are we doing? Well, we have a lot of things in process, right? We are looking at rebuilding the application process to create standardized data, which will help feed our machine learning models. We are experimenting with different technologies. We are replacing old manual processes with new automation. We've been testing and getting incredible feedback on our experiences, right? We have 61% engagement in digital marketing campaigns with this talent. Incredible digital engagement numbers. And as we look at the work that's in flight, these are the next 6 components that we're building. And where I see GoGig fitting in first is in this resume-less application. So before I get into really what that means, let's talk about what we're trying to do. We're trying to create a guided stepped application process that doesn't require a resume. It requires minimal data entry and is filled with structured, standardized data to enable our machine learning. And they can apply with or without a resume, and they can do the whole experience on their mobile device. So part of that experience is this idea of part of the resume, and let me figure out how to stop sharing here. There we go. Part of the application process requires either a video or an audio interview component, right? So, hey, Chris, tell me about a time where you faced adversity in the workplace, and what was the situation and how do you overcome it? And we take the transcript from that audio or video component, and we run that transcript against this API that we're engaging to get access to. And that API says, hey, these are some of the core traits and skills that this transcript says this person may have, right? So again, that's, I don't know how long that took me. It probably took me 5 minutes. That was a 30-minute presentation for the business with a lot more context. But the speed drill is like, hey, this is the problem we're trying to solve. These are the first few things that we are doing to begin to solve it. And as you can imagine, those 6 features that we're working on right now that we have in flight, they are all really focused on that talent platform. We haven't even gotten into the core systems that support both platforms. A lot of the recommendations systems you mentioned there are already built. We have an incredible recommendations team. We've been working on this stuff for several years, but they're disparate systems in a lot of cases. And we want to find ways to connect those to feed a workflow for our talent. So I'll stop there, and I will first recognize that you all are in the circle of trust. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gone through that with you, right? But I think it's important that you understand, and I've been stealing from the Fokker reference, all day actually, because we've had lots of circle of trust conversations in the last 40 hours. But my point in doing that is it's really important that you understand what the context of this work that we're looking really is. So, excuse me. Drink a lot to talking a lot, never a great combination. So we have not fully baked whether that's going to be an audio file or a video file, whether we're going to make that mandatory, whether we're going to have that be optional, right? And one of the things we really want to do is we want to start testing some different scenarios to make sure that we are not creating bias by doing this versus a formal prepared writing sample, right? Because as we've gone through it, and Dan and Piyush and myself, like we've gone through it a few times and found it interesting. We got different answers, right? With different writing samples that we provided. So we may have some questions that we want to understand. But my point is, we want to first test, all right, let's take and measure structured writing results versus non-structured ad hoc. Tell me a little bit about yourself, Al. Type data. Do the data results really skew? And can we still trust the accuracy? Because we understand and recognize we're asking to use this technology that you've developed for a maybe unintended purpose. And we want to make sure that we can help develop that with you to get the same accuracy and the same benefit that you all are seeing, with that structured writing sample being submitted. So I'll press pause. I feel like I've been talking for an hour.
Yeah.
Thoughts, questions?
I'll jump in really quick, Jason. Thank you for laying that out. It all makes tons of sense. I think we're good on that. I've got a couple of questions on the I guess a couple of the details of it, if you wouldn't mind. So the speech, just for clarification, the speech to text converter is still TBD, right? Or whether on how you're going to do that, if it's audio or video, and what questions you plan to ask. Correct.
Correct.
Got
we
it.
are still ideating and determining what the right tool for that is.
Got it. And
Or the right process.
Of course, yeah. From our standpoint, for consistency purpose, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the one thing that I want to make sure we're clear on is we are going to be testing, not at scale. We are going to be testing on one persona, one job type. So we would really look to get very standardized with the questions that we would ask, whether it be video or audio. Like, we would have that structure very fixed for the purposes of the experiments that we're going to be running. And we would work the kinks out with that fixed data structure, that fixed set of questions before we moved. And the goal would be to move to a much more dynamic set. And I think, go ahead.
No, you're nailing it. That's exactly where I was going to go. Is in order for the experiment to be done correctly and assure that there's no anomalies, that you do have to have that fixed structure in place, so that the questions you ask are going to matter, the length of the answers are going to matter, and then how well the speech to text conversion comes back is going to matter, because natural language processing relies heavily on its ability to compute English language, and if it's wrong, then it's garbage in, garbage out at that point, right? So,
and that would definitely be part of the evaluation.
Okay.
Right? Because we want to make sure that, comparatively, if we're giving the API garbage, right? Like you say, garbage in, garbage out. We want to make sure that whether it's manual process that we go through and read the transcripts and say, all right, well, clearly this is getting hung up here, and maybe we reform our questions and things like that, so we can reduce things like jargon and things that tend to get missed and speech to text.
Sure. Okay, so question on the UI side is this going to live just like, so you're recruiter at Aston Carter, I'm candidate, you ask me to go to Aston Carter's website, I log in, I sign up, and then as part of that sign up experience, there's going to be a flow with which I would encounter this prompt to record my questions?
Yeah, let me give you a preview of that as well, just real quick to help with this. Yeah, told you I was on your site. So
we got a new website coming in a couple of days, by the way. So
nice. Look forward to it. So let me give you an idea of